Welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. It's your one-stop shop for everything going on with the Burgundy and Gold. I'm Bob Matthews. Hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss a day of our coverage. All right, Commanders back on the practice field. And late on Wednesday afternoon, we got the word. Terry McLaurin out for Sunday Night Football. He is not going to play against the Seahawks. He re-injured that quad, more than likely on that diving catch along the sideline there in the second half against the Chiefs. So Terry's out, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Dan Quinn, as you might expect, said that they don't believe it's long-term, but hey, 4 weeks the last time. Who knows? Did he re-injure it worse? Is it a case where it's just injured again, but not as bad? We don't know. I got to tell you, when we look back on this season and do a post-mortem on it, and more importantly, when Adam Peters does, I think he's going to look at the way he handled that contract negotiation. He's got to look at it with some regret. Now, we don't know that the holdout, we can't scientifically prove that the holdout was why McLaurin injured his quad, but there is so much anecdotal evidence that guys, especially receivers, when they miss all of training camp, they come back and they get hurt. You know, what were we talking about all through free agency? And through this contract holdout, we were talking about soft tissue injuries. Does it open them up to more soft tissue injuries? And the chickens have come home to roost on that. Again, I will go back to the thing that I never got with this whole contract situation was why? You know, I mean, all of that just for a one-year extension on a team-friendly deal. You look at the Commanders now, this team's got the third most cap space in the National Football League. And we said this way back in the spring when we first started this show, they can afford to re-sign McLaurin to almost anything he wants. And again, I know it wouldn't be entirely prudent to do that, but, you know, they had the room to come up with a decent offer to where the two sides could have met in the middle. They didn't have to play hardball. Financially, they did not have to play hardball on this. And I think they're reaping the consequences of it. And then when you add in all of the other injuries, you know, they were very, very lucky last year, not so much this year. I think that's where this team finds itself right now, and that's why it finds itself with a must-win situation. At least it's at home against Seattle, and the Seahawks are coming across the country, but it's not going to be easy. Jaden Daniels did practice on Wednesday. I guess that is obviously good news because if they want to have a chance, they've got to have Jaden in the lineup. Looks like Deebo Samuel is relatively speaking okay. We'll have to see as the week goes on. And once again, what you got to worry about is whether this game becomes a shootout because, man, I got to tell you, boys and girls, I didn't know a whole lot. I hadn't watched a whole lot of Jackson Smith Enigma before watching the tape this week. Jackson Smith Njigba. He's phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. You watch him on tape, he gets open short, he gets open long. A couple of weeks ago, they had a bye last week. I think it was the Jacksonville game. Yeah, I was watching tape on the Jacksonville game. And, I mean, he just blew right by a defensive back on a go route on that long touchdown that he caught against the Jaguars. You look at his stats, and you start to wonder, how is this secondary for Washington going to stop him? Hate to sound defeatist, but the guy's, he leads the league with 819 yards receiving. He's, one less game than most of the other leaders up there. But when you look at his stats, what really jumps out at me, of his 7 games, in 5 of them, he's gone over 100 yards. In the 5th one of those, he had 96. And everybody knows that the ball's coming to him, yet he still manages to get the job done. I mean, 67 targets this year and 50 receptions. 2 weeks ago against Houston, he got targeted 13 times, caught 8 balls. If he's not the best receiver in the league, I'm not sure who is. I know Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase can make a case for it, but this dude is good. And, I mean, he could easily go for 200 yards against what we've seen out of the Commanders' secondary. He's done it against man coverage. He's done it against man press coverage. He's done it against zone coverage. I don't know what Joe Witt's going to do to slow him down. Witt's got his work cut out for him, and so far this year, it hadn't looked that good. Going to be a tough one, I got to tell you. And it doesn't help that the season is, in fact, hanging in the balance here. We talked about it yesterday, but this team's got to win one of these next two. They can't go to Madrid at 3-7. If they can figure out a way to beat Seattle, and again, the Seahawks are not undefeated here. They are not looking like a present-day version of the 72 Dolphins or anything. They have lost games. They've lost 2 games this year. If the Commanders can figure out a way to win, and let's face it, at this point, it's almost a failure is not an option type of thing for the Commanders. They got to win this game one way or another. If they can, and they get to 4-5, things are going to look a lot different, going into that Lions game. Then you'll be like, okay, well, and they get a bounce or two this way and a bounce or two that way, and if Terry comes back against Detroit, hey, who knows? They did it last year. Who knows? But it's got to start with a win this week. You have got to get this season back on track this week. And you got to do it, apparently, without Terry McLaurin. As it is, as of the last time I checked the lines, the Seahawks coming across the country as the road team were a 3.5-point favorite. That means that Vegas does not like things for the Commanders again this week. All right, let's go ahead and hit the mailbag. Again, drop a comment on this one if you like. Reanimator 1138, losing against the Falcons and Bears ended this season. No, hey, I've got to agree with you on that one. I know Brian Mitchell always says, hey, you got to look forward. You got to look through the windshield, not the rearview mirror. But no, you're absolutely right. When we go back and do a postmortem on this season, the Commanders wind up as a 7, 8, even 9-win team. We're going to look at those 2 games and say that's where it happened. At Michael Robinson, 73-97, the OC was so predictable against Kansas City, and so many drives were just wasted with passes to the line of scrimmage over and over again. I hope that won't happen with Jaden back in the lineup. Maybe that was just a product of Mariota having to play quarterback last week. And, hey, big shout-out to our UK connection, Terry Windsor. He lives in Cardiff, and Cardiff FC, big win over Wrexham in the EFL Cup to make it to the quarterfinals, the Sweet 16, as we like to call it over here, Terry. Congratulations. No, actually, let's see. Quarterfinals would be the Elite 8. I messed up. The Elite 8 of the EFL Cup. So, congratulations, Terry. Good win there for the Bluebirds. All right, that's going to do it for us. We got to get on out of here. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe. Drop us a comment. We can all kind of try and get through this one together. See you again tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're out on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.